Hi, and welcome back to Blue's Garden. This is my mid-March update. Just a little catch-up on a tour of the grow lights. I also am going to catch you up. I added a couple of more, added some Tiny Tim, tiny cherry tomatoes, a very popular variety. I seeded some eggplant, and I up-potted quite a few different peppers and tomatoes. First up, let's start with Tiny Tim. I'm going to do 2 seeds per cell, 6 cells total. As a really tiny, very prolific on the vine, small cherry. So like I said, 2 seeds per cell. Tomato seeds, eggplant, pepper, they're all similar size, and you're basically going to put the seed in about twice the depth as the size of the seed. So in this case, they're all a 1/4 inch deep. Put a couple in there. I'm going to label everything, and then I am going to make sure, label everything, and then I'm going to make sure that I am putting a light layer of some seed starter on top. Press it in to get some good seed to soil contact. Very end of February, here's a look at the peppers that have been up potted. Onion is not doing too bad, bunching onion on the right, and these single ones are the bulbing onion. Underneath the humidity dome are the cherry tomatoes that all just started, and a few of the larger slicer sized. Because I am such a glutton for punishment, I'm going to do eggplant again. Long purple eggplant in this one. 2 per cell, 2 seeds per cell, 6 cells of eggplant. My headache is they never seem to come up for me. I shouldn't say that. They come up, but I get a 2-inch, 3-inch long eggplant. Similar to tomatoes and peppers, the seed size is the same, so about a 1/4 inch deep. Which is about twice the size of the seed. Again, 2 per cell and 6 cells. Now I'm going to label. Everything looks similar when they're all tiny seedlings. I'm going to put a light, fluffy coating of the seed starter slash soil mix. Here we are at the end of the first week of March. Onions, the bunching onion, the bulbing onion, my Roma tomato, those are doing well. I've got about a half a dozen of those. Those planted a little early, so. And then a quick look at about 3-4 days later. The whole thing, just scan some tomatoes, peppers. So we're going to pot up some more. Next up, actually, I have no idea what the heck I'm potting up here. Anyway, the potting up process is all very similar for me. Moist soil, I make a hole in the moist soil. Usually I use either the back of the spoon or a large screwdriver and make a big hole in there. I can then use the spoon to pry out the seedling. And when I pry out the seedling, I can tuck the whole thing, roots and all, and soil in. I'm going to just separate out some here. And then I will use the soil seed starter slash potting soil mix and fill in around the little seedling to get it upright there. Push everything down a little bit. You want to get as much air out as you can. Label everything. These little guys here you see are actually the seeds that I started for the Alexandria strawberry. Here are the peppers, all doing well. This is end of the second week, middle of the second week of March. You'll see the slicers doing okay in the back there. The aromas are really starting to take off. The bunch onion looks great. And then coming along are the bulbing onion. Next up, I'm potting Brandywine tomato. Brandywine yellow. And very similar, very similar. I have a 2/3 filled with potting soil, very damp soil, or damp soil, I should say. Make a hole in it. Pull the seedling out of my 1x1 cell with the back of the spoon, the handle of the spoon. And then I will fill in around the seedling with a mixture of half potting soil, half seed starter. Label everything. 15 gazillion different kinds of tomatoes. Label everything. You can't tell. Not when they're this small. You'll lose track if you don't label everything. And again, press down to get any air out. Next up is Jubilee. So I did 3 of the Brandywine yellow. I'm going to do 3 of the, actually I think I'm going to do 4. We'll see here, but I do 4 of the Jubilee, and similar process, hole, scoop it out, seedling into the hole, and do the seed starter, potting soil mix to fill in around, press to get any air out. And then at the very end, you're going to water everything, and that really eliminates. So next up is 2 different kinds called pineapple is one, and Rio Grande is the next. So pineapple, I am going to pot up 3, I believe, of the pineapple tomato, maybe 4, I can't remember. Similar process. Damp soil I'm going into. Make a hole. The hole stays because of the water in the damp soil. Pry the seedling up out of the tiny cell. Put the fluffier mix around it to fill in. Press down to get the air out. Air is a killer for any kind of roots. I know it seems cruel, but I am thinning and only picking the best ones. That's why I do so many to start. And get the healthiest I can. Similar, I have damp soil, and I make the holes. And now I'm going to use my spoon to pry up and gather myself some giant crimson seedlings. I run out of the little 3x3 squares and end up with the 3-inch pots, round pots. Get creative in how I get them all in these 10 by 20 trays. It is a challenge, but you make it work. You make it work. And another one new to me is the Rio Grande. So I am going to pot these up. Very similar. You've already seen it a million times. Damp soil, make a hole. Spoon, back of the spoon, be cruel here and delete some of it, or destroy some of these other ones. Back of the spoon, pry up the seedling, goes into the hole, put something around. I use this light fluffy mix to go around the seedlings, press to get the air out. Everything is labeled. And now I have my 3 Rio Grande. This is new to me, so I can't tell you anything about it. I'll let you know when I taste it. Can't remember who recommended it. For me, potting up occurs right around when you see their next set of true leaves, not the cotyledon leaves, the ones in the seed. I like to get them potted up out of the 1 by 1 cells as soon as I can to give them a lot more room for their roots. I usually put in the 3 by 3 cell, 2/3 of it is a potting soil, and then make a hole as you saw. I use the back end of a spoon and I pry it out, get the seedling into that hole, and then around the outside of the hole I fill it in with a mix that's part potting soil, part seed starter. It's a little lighter, and then press it all in. The most important part is once you've got it into its larger pots and you've filled your soil around your seed starter or your potting soil or all of that, give it a good water because you want to make sure the water will help to eliminate any of the air pockets around the roots. You don't want the air to basically air prune your roots and then your seedlings will start dying off. I like to get this done. It's usually around 3 weeks after the seedlings have started, and 2 to 3 weeks after the seedlings start. The sooner I can get them up into a larger pot, the better. And then a good solid amount of time before they go up into an even larger pot. That way, there's quite a bit of time for the roots to develop before there's any kind of transplant shock. So there it is, a tour of the grow lights and potting up for a few different varieties. Some peppers, some tomato, some cherry tomato, some plum tomato, and also starting eggplant and Tiny Tim. Probably next up it will be this coming weekend. I'll probably end up starting my zucchini and squash. Well, look forward to that. Let's see what happens. If you enjoy this, please click like, share, and subscribe. Anything you can do to help me grow will help you grow.